On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with meditation master Charley Johnson, and he tells us how to go deep. Well, hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today is just like the ultimate cool dude, Charley Johnson. He's Senior VP of Sales and Marketing for Handstands. Charley, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to jump right in really quickly. It feels like you've become a real thought leader in our industry on meditation. Why? What made you so passionate about this?
Just experience, simple experience. Some people watching this may know my first life was Snugs, and I left Snugs at the height, and now they're doing even better. But I left all the money and everything behind, and my soul just simply wanted something different. And at the time, it was very difficult to make that change. But when you look at like Steve Jobs talking about connecting the dots backwards, when I left there, that gave me the opportunity to work out during the middle of the day rather than early morning or after work. During the middle of the day is the old people. So I'm there with a bunch of 70 and 80-year-old guys, and one time a guy came up to me and said, I've known you from a past life. And that really sparked my interest. Okay. He gave me some books to read. Long story short, he gave me some books to read. He tested me for about a year. After a year, he said, do you want to meditate? I said, hell yes. He said, here's my guy. I went up that day, learned 4 days later. I talked to that guy. I said, this cannot be the only thing. He's like, oh, there's advanced techniques. I said, okay, tell me when. And it just led. And when your soul finds something that has been looking for in past lives or something you've been a part of in past lives, and you latch on, and it just becomes very natural.
Huh. That is super interesting how that journey's sort of taken you there. So what's interesting to me, and I don't know that it has done this, but it's just felt this way, that by taking on this role, I know you started a Facebook group about mindful promo, it feels like, at least in my world, it's elevated your personal brand. Was that on purpose, or did it just become a product of following that passion?
I'm sure it's a little bit of everything. Until you've reached full enlightenment, the ego's still there. And even when you reach enlightenment, someone still says, hey, Charley, and I'm going to turn around and react to it. So there's still ego involved. I'm sure it helps my personal brand. I'm sure it helps Handstands. But the main thing is back in 2005, 2006, I had a very strong urge to get into social media. And we started a couple groups, and those groups actually became the largest in the industry, bigger than ASI and PPA combined. And that was before everyone really got involved. So now it's just massive. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to upset a lot of my friends here. I have that same urge, even stronger, to run the hell away from social media. It is absolutely deteriorating society. But it's a very powerful tool. Right. So the mind is a tool as well, but you don't walk into a garage and ask a hammer how to hammer. So the same tool that got us in trouble is going to have a hard time getting us out of trouble. So that's why social media right now is we're oversharing like crazy, and it's just, I don't know if I should stop before I piss everyone off. But
bring it.
If I, the hashtagging and the selfies, and I just think we're going to be embarrassed with how we're treating social media right about now. And it's kind of like that saying that your mom and parents used to say, if your friends would jump off a bridge, would you? Well, right now we're all jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and taking selfies on the way down. Again, I'm sitting here on a social media platform with you talking about it. I'm using social media and mindful promo to get people to talk about meditation. So it's a powerful tool, but it's becoming more and more difficult to become a part of and stay on social media each and every day.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing, and I think that's one of the things I struggle with, I'm sure, is the balance, right? Because I think as a part of, if you're Senior VP of Sales and Marketing and as an entrepreneur in the marketing industry, it behooves me to be on top of this sort of thing. But I also understand that there is a balance and that there is a challenge, right? That there's the, a little bit of too much comparing going on, and there's a lot of that narcissistic behavior that you're talking about. So I understand what you're saying, and I think it is a struggle.
Well, if you remember when social media started out, we used to joke about, what are you, a 13-year-old girl? and now it's incredible to me to see what grown adults will post on social media. I don't understand it. And again, I'm sure I'm upsetting quite a few people, but I think we need to change our ways. Just because everyone around us is doing it doesn't mean it's right. And we have to feel that our soul at our gut level, we have to know we've taken it too far. We've got to know that something's kind of off. And I think they've done study after study of how addicting it is. It is an absolute drug to see how many likes you get on a post or a video or whatever. It's a dopamine release, and we are drug addicts for social media right now.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I know you have led the conversation, right, on meditation with a lot of people. And meditation is something that actually, it's funny, I mentioned you in the talk I gave out in Vegas. Meditation is something I want to be better at, but I still struggle with. So for somebody like me who's still getting new into meditation, what are some tips that for me or for those who want to start to begin?
That's an awesome question, because here's the problem. It is something that needs to have a teacher or a guide, someone in your life that understands and has been further along. It's more important with meditation and the spiritual path than I think anything in this world. A lot of people are looking at YouTube and doing guided meditations, or they're reading the back of a Deepak Chopra book, or they're watching their breath, or they're trying 100 different things and trying to combine their own little thing. And then the first thing they're thinking is, I need to clear my mind. They close their eyes, they start doing meditation, they can't clear their mind, so they believe they're a failure. There's so many things that are a misconception of meditation, so they think they're failing. They're setting themselves up for failure constantly. The best thing I have is I have a great teacher here in Ogden, and he was taught by Maharishi himself. So I've been under his tutelage for the last 3 or 4 years. Wow. And he's a guy fully enlightened. He's a guy that most people would travel to India for, and he's just 30 minutes away from me. So I simply just lucked out. Good karma. The tips are, if you find this is so ego-based, but if you find someone like me and I'm begging you to meditate, take me up on it. Take me up on these questions. Ask me the questions. Ask me what needs to happen. There's very simple ways to start meditation, but so many people start. For the first week, it goes okay. Their mind can't clear. They're like, it's just not for me. I can't tell you how many times people talk and say, I can't clear my mind. I can't do this. It's even more of a reason for them to do it. But we need a teacher. We need a guide when it comes to this stuff, because it's so important for our progress moving forward. And it blows me away it's not taught in schools. It blows me away it's not even like a government-funded thing, because the absolute, utter, subtle power of what meditation does, even 10 to 20 minutes a day when you do it correctly, is flooring. And the hundreds of people that I have, whether it's in the company, or people I've taken up to my teacher, or people in the industry I've gotten to meditate, batting 1,000% to see every one of them comes back and says, I can't believe how simple this is and what it does for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you one more question, so if that's okay. Yeah. So there's a meditation app called Headspace. What do you think about that?
If it works, there's some people that use that. There's Calm, and there's a few others that use different kind of apps. If it works for you, then great. Okay. I would still continue to search for a teacher. I would look for some type of guidance. When you start off on the wrong path, it's very hard to get back on the right path. So if you start off on the wrong and it's not working for you, and you think you're doing something right and you're not, you could spend years, if not decades, on the wrong path, wondering why it's not doing something for you. So I want to say, just like everyone else, it's to each their own, but I'd highly suggest finding someone who really understands the impact of meditation, but also understands the teachings, the writings, the books behind, the education behind them, but also understands higher consciousness, understands what it does to your physiology, what it does to your nervous system, what it does to your mind, and what it does to your thoughts. There's so much behind it. And when I really start to get talking about it, there's a reason why people will actually finally say, yeah, I will give it a shot.
That's awesome. I appreciate you kind of digging into that. And so you've answered my questions, and I give everybody a chance to ask me a question. Charley, do you have one for me?
Yeah, why is meditation not a bigger deal for you?
You know what? It's funny, but I think I'm kind of new to that world, right? Like, so it's interesting. A friend of mine talk to me about Headspace. And so I went through the 10-day training on that, and I was like, wow, I thought it was pretty impactful. So I got a book on it and read. But I'm like, I think a lot of people, to be honest with you, in the sense that I struggle in the ADD world we live in, and I'm sort of that nature. That's my nature anyway. So sure. I struggle to find the space, but it's something I'm working on. If I'm just being honest, but I'll be candid that it's not something I'm great at yet. But sure. I feel like that's a little bit like working out, though, right? Like in the sense that it takes time. I would sure. guess. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, it takes time. And again, back to the social media thing and the instant gratification. People want to meditate once and expect to have this celestial type of exception or this perception or some type of crazy experience. And it just doesn't happen that way. It's such a subtle thing that it does to your physiology and your nervous system. And it truly is one of the few things on this planet. And you've got to let the religious part of it go. You got to let the dogma go. Just find someone who understands meditation, get the tool, and watch what it does to you professionally, personally, your family, your business, what it does internally. And the best example, and I know we're kind of running short on time here, is our mind is consumed with thinking thoughts that get us nowhere. Fear, worry, doubt, all that stuff, and it's just going off in a different direction. It's constantly clouded. So let's say 90% of the time your thoughts are just nothing that's helping you evolve, nothing that's helping you with business or your family. 10% is actually giving you something that is helping you become a better person in all those aspects. What meditation does is it calms the mind down. It'll take that 90-10 to 80-20 to 70-30 to 60-40. So let's say you've got 20 years, let's say you've got 50 years left on this planet, and you just went from 90-10 to 60-40. That's 30%. That gives you decades more time over your life of you actually doing something that is going to help your evolution, that's going to help your family, that's going to help your business, that's going to help everything you possibly do on this planet. That's why they say if you want to help the world, get your own shit in order first. The greatest thing we can do for this planet is our own awakening, because then we live without that delusion and we can guide people around us better than anything.
Dude, that's amazing stuff. I really appreciate you kind of sharing that with me, and I want to keep this conversation going at some point, but we'll do it again sometime. Is that okay, Charlie?
Absolutely, man.
All right. Well, that wraps up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.